The middle one?
Yeah, we're live.
On?
We're on.
This is it?
This is it.
Why am I so disappointed already?
Happy Wednesday, everybody.
What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Are we getting the live chat? Let's see
Yeah,
anything
we'll see
showing
it.
up.
I gotta fix some
certain
audio.
goblin.
Yeah, I'm hearing a little echo myself.
Echo.
There is definitely an echo in our headphones.
Yeah. Well, welcome, all four of you. Thank you for joining us today. You're listening to. He wants us to say it, Steve. What is he listening to?
You're listening to the live stream of The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. There's not the podcast. The podcast comes out on Saturday. We record that tonight, actually. But we do a live stream most Wednesdays, starting at around noon.
Full plate of Novellum.
Yeah.
Happy Measles Day. Jesus Christ. I know,
Yeah,
right?
every day's Measles Day now.
Okay, let's start
we're
real
back.
quick, Steve.
Yeah, measles.
Sorry, I had to fix it.
That whole thing about, like, if you're, like, a certain age, like if you were born in, like, the late 60s and earlier, you should get your MMR again.
Yeah, if you got your MMR vaccine, I think the cutoff is 68 or 69. If that's when you got your MMR, it might not be a bad idea to just get a booster,
Okay.
especially if you're going to be exposed to children.
How do you do it?
Just go to your primary care doctor and ask them about it.
Okay.
And of course, children should all be updated on their boosters. The good thing, so the thing about measles is it's one of the most infectious, contagious
Yeah, man.
diseases that we know about.
Mm-hmm.
And the vaccine works really well.
Yeah.
Right? So that's an interesting combination. A single dose of the vaccine gives you about 92, 93% protection.
Mm-hmm.
If you get your booster, then it's like 96, 97% protection.
That's good.
Which is very good. It's not 100%, nothing is, but that's as pretty much as good as it gets for vaccines.
And then you rely on herd immunity for the rest.
Well, then if
basically.
95% of people in the community are vaccinated, then that creates herd immunity or community immunity, some people like to call it,
Tokyo.
which means that the virus cannot easily spread from person to person.
Right.
There's not enough targets out there for it to spread
So
to.
what you're saying is we're fucked.
Well, actually, if you look at the country, like the U.S. as a whole, we're at about 95% vaccinated for measles, for the MMR.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
which is good. But
Got pockets.
there are pockets
below.
where it drops below
Pockets
that.
of death, yes.
And if it goes down to even like 90%,
we are screwed.
then it can spread.
It spills over, and then next thing you know, we have a fungus, and there's two people, a man and a young woman, who are trying to escape.
Yeah,
measles
that's
fungus,
that's
right.
there's pretty much a direct line between that and The Last of Us. So
Cats, dogs, living
And then, and the bonus, of course, is the fungus-based zombies, which is
Yeah, that comes
always
next.
good
That's
when
the
that
bonus.
happens.
It's the measles-based.
but what's
zombies, though.
interesting is that measles adversely affects your immune system,
Oh shit.
which makes you susceptible to other infections.
Bro, so this
So
is how
even
it
if you,
starts.
so we often talk about like the death rate, like how many people die from measles, but actually, the far bigger effect
Secondary,
is
opportunistic.
the long-term effects. So people who get measles are more likely to then later get tuberculosis, for example,
Oh Christ.
or other infectious diseases.
I'm gonna
And those
get-
infections will be more severe because they don't have the immune
I
system.
gotta
even
set a
after the
reminder
measles
for
is gone.
myself.
What's that?
Even after the measles
Yeah,
is gone, like
yeah,
years later,
yeah,
you're still,
yep.
that sucks.
Yep,
TikTok's
that's right.
TikTok wants us to say schmeasles, by the way.
Schmeasles?
Just
Why?
I don't know. I just made that up. I just.
Oh, okay.
Anybody,
Shingles
anybody
and
who
measles.
is, let's say, if you were born in 1970 or earlier, make a note right now.
Make a
to
note.
Call your
Talk to your
doctor.
Do
primary
it.
care
I'm
doctor.
doing
Talk
it.
to somebody. All right, this is the beginning. Wait, we got to do this. The starting music.
the thing.
Hello, do the thing. Hey, welcome everybody. So today is Wednesday, March 5th, 2025, and today we're going to talk about. Oh, it doesn't say the whole thing. Transgender translation. And we'll talk about that. And I don't even know if these guys all know about what that is. Measles, mumps, rubella. Oh my!
Oh boy.
Can I lick it? Will it bread? Which is a new segment that I'm starting, and they don't know about it. And then we'll do some TikToks.
Okay.
Bread.
Will it bread? Although well, whatever. We'll see. Do you want to do the MMR stuff?
Yeah,
now?
let's get
Since
right
to it. We're already
on-
halfway in
we're
there.
halfway
Yeah,
there.
we're basically almost done.
Living on a prayer.
So,
Okay, so if of course, we're talking about the infamous Ding
Infamous.
Dong himself.
Yeah,
RFK Jr.
the king of the ding
The
dongs.
king, Captain Ding Dong. So apparently, he was an anti-vaxxer, which I think
Still
we
is
all
an
know. Still is an anti-vaxxer. Then he somehow came around for maybe a day, and now he's again still an anti-vaxxer.
Not really. He didn't
Not
really.
really.
He just
So
was.
what did he do?
I mean, he's like, yeah, you could take the vaccine,
Yeah.
but he said it should be a personal choice, which is what we call a dog whistle, right? Dog whistles. I think it's a great metaphor. A dog whistle is obviously comes from the fact that dogs can hear it, but humans can't.
Right.
And so when we talk about that in political discourse, it means you're saying something that some subculture will recognize what that means, whereas the population will not necessarily recognize it. So when he says, but the vaccine should be a personal choice, that is a dog whistle to the anti-vaccine community.
That's right.
They know exactly what he means by that. Like no mandates, whatever, nothing to support it, et cetera, et cetera. But then he comes right out and says, but you can also take vitamin A.
Right. Of course. This is the
Oh
other
yeah.
thing.
Which is-
Take vitamins.
So-
to treat
Equivalent.
it.
Vitamin A is not a substitute for the vaccine, but he kind of makes it seem like it is. And he also returns to his sort of baseline. Well, if you have a good diet, you don't have to worry about infectious diseases, basically, which is
Wow.
bullshit.
Is that how it works?
Right.
Which
Wow.
is total bullshit.
Have
You
you thought
cannot
of- go
protect
to the
yourself
gym?
from highly infectious agents with a good diet. Now, of course, a good diet is good for your overall health and for your immune system function. It does not make you immune to infections.
No.
It certainly doesn't protect you against one of the most infectious agents we know about.
Unless your diet somehow makes you so unappealing to humanity that nobody goes near you, then you're protected
Yeah.
from
Now,
infections.
There
he
is
also
that.
confuses something else. So, like in certain parts of the world, like in Africa, for example, very poor parts of the world, where there's high degrees of vitamin A deficiency. Now, vitamin A deficiency makes you susceptible to infections, and so vitamin A supplementation is an effective way to reduce the spread of infectious disease in parts of the world where vitamin A deficiency is a problem. That is not the United States. We do not have a problem with vitamin A deficiency. And so if you have normal levels of vitamin A, supplementing it will not give you extra protection against infections.
Yeah,
It
you
doesn't
can't,
work that
like
way.
if you take like 1,000% of what your daily requirement is, it's not going to whack back.
It does
anything.
nothing. All
does
it will give you is vitamin A toxicity, which
Yeah.
is the thing. It's actually really horrific.
Yep, you don't want that.
You don't want to take 10 times the RDA of that.
Wait, so you're saying that if a small dose helps a mega super dose isn't going to really be that much better? It doesn't scale? It doesn't,
Doesn't
scale
scale,
like that? What
no.
the hell?
No, especially for like nutrients. There's an optimal level. Too
Mm-hmm.
little is bad, too much is bad. And if you're already in the optimal level, there's no benefit to supplementing.
It's all about dose.
Yeah.
You
So,
could-
but again, but saying that therefore vitamin A has somehow an alternative to vaccines is ridiculous. It isn't. So he's just playing. He's just being coy, and he's playing his usual shenanigans, which is what he does. Captain Ding Dong, which is now his official name on the SGU.
And you can read more about it on Science-Based Medicine, of course,
Yeah.
if you
That's
want.
being generous.
Jonathan Howard wrote about
Yeah.
him. So, I mean, there's plenty of articles if you use the search tab. So go ahead and
We're also
check
in the
him
middle
out.
of, by the way, like one of the worst flu seasons ever.
Right.
And the
Ever?
CDC has taken down its recommendation to get flu vaccines under RFK. Yeah.
Wow.
I can
We're-
feel
we're-
I can
Quademic
feel a
moment.
meltdown coming.
Excellent
Let's move
timing.
away from
All
this
right.
asshole.
Yeah. Okay. okay.
There's kids that are going to die from the
Right.
measles
So get
because of
get
this
them
guy.
get them while you can, I guess, basically.
Well, you know what happened in, what was it, Malaysia?
Yes.
The measles outbreak there, where Captain Ding Dong felt the necessity to insert himself and to try to reduce their vaccines, and demonstrably leading to the death of lots of people. He has a body count attached with his nonsense, and now he's importing that to the U.S.
Yeah, and I think was it 2 deaths so far, maybe 1 or 2 in Texas.
Mhm.
I don't know if the actual number.
as
Check,
opposed to
correct us.
0,
As
which has
opposed to
been our
0.
record for the last 20 years or so.
You would hope.
But again, the morbidity goes far beyond just those who die, right?
Right. Okay, so I guess we can avoid that topic because it's
Yes.
painful. We could let's go to transgender
what's going on here?
translation. So I don't know if you guys watched the quote unquote not State of the Union from yesterday with the joint
Some of it, yeah.
address, joint Congress address. Anyway, at one point, it came about that Trump said the USAID or whatever, America using taxpayer funds on transgender mice. Are you familiar with this study at all?
So mice are getting sex change operations. Okay.
So now
Turns out they were transgenic mice.
well, so that's part of the question
Oh
and
my
the
God,
statement.
really?
So a lot of scientists came out and said it's transgenic. However, now some scientists are like, don't be so quick because that's not entirely accurate. So what's transgenic actually? What's transgenic? to you?
Transgenic is
Foreign
it's a
genes
when
inserted.
it's a it refers to when you take a gene from a distant evolutionarily speaking species and insert it into an organism, as opposed to cisgenic, right? So
Right.
if I take one type of oak tree gene and put it into another type of oak tree, that's cisgenic. If I take a bacterial gene and put it into a tomato, that's transgenic.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So there are studies that
Not
do,
that it matters.
That's right. There are studies that do transgenic, like have transgenic mice because they're studying cancer or some things like that. Also transgender mice doesn't make any sense because they don't have gender. Like they can't tell
Yeah.
you what their gender identity is because they're mice. But some scientists on social media kind of fell for like it's transgenic, not transgender. However, the studies that he's specifically talking about, I'll let Dr. Jeremy Faust, he's a science communicator on Instagram. He talks about it, which is pretty good. But let's listen to what he has to say. So hold on. Stupid Instagram always mutes. I'm sorry.
That creates trans
Okay, here we go. Oh, hey God, it always mutes.
address in Congress talking about NIH-funded research that creates transgender mice. And then afterwards, you may have seen some nice scientists talking about how, no, that's not it. It's not transgender mice, it's transgenic mice, which would refer to a technique that changes the DNA of the mice so that they create different proteins. And that is transgenic mice, not transgender mice. And actually, everybody's wrong. No one's correct here. And it's important because the research that everyone is discussing is actually interesting, is important, probably should be supported. But let's at least get the facts right so that we know what we're talking about. Let's take a look. All of this started back in February when a Republican in Congress went on this whole tirade about the NIH research. So $2.5 million of taxpayer dollars to study the fertility of transgender mice, $1.1 million
This is what
to
the
spend
chairwoman said.
on female
Yeah,
rats receiving
quote, unquote.
testosterone to mimic transgender men to see if they're more likely to overdose on party drugs, and even federal funding to, quote, forcibly transition male monkeys to see if hormone therapy made them more susceptible to HIV. So here's the thing. you can't make a transgender mouse. Sex is your genetics and your anatomy. Gender is how you
That's not
identify.
what Jerry Coyne says.
Yeah.
If you ask a mouse how it identifies, what its pronouns are, it's not going to tell you. It's a mouse. They don't identify as anything. Now, you can change the biochemical profile of a mouse to make it more masculine or more feminine. For example, you can take a male mouse and you can inject it with hormones to make it more feminine, right? Or you could take a female mouse and inject it with hormones that will make it more masculine, right? Testosterone. And scientists have been doing this for a long time, and it's to find out about the biophysical effects. What are the physiological effects of that? What are the behavioral effects of that? There have been studies in the past looking at how hormones change risk of heart attacks, and also hormones change behaviors. And so it's reasonable to do studies where we're asking what happens when we take something that mimics the other sex or actually makes one animal a little bit less male or less female than it already was, to find out if it has a higher risk of getting a disease like HIV. Now, monkeys can't get HIV, that's true, but they can get a very related virus. That's worth studying, so we can learn something here. And that is what all of these studies are doing. So let's get the politics out. We want to study how our bodies work, and it'll help us figure out how to be healthier.
Yeah, so there we go.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a long-standing Republican kind of refrain, sort of trying to present animal research as if it's ridiculous.
Right.
Right. We're studying the sex life of frogs, right? Wasn't that the big one, like in the 80s? Remember that?
Right.
It's like, well, these are animal models of biology that we're using to understand them better. So on the one hand, they're saying, well, we haven't studied hormones enough to use them to treat, transgender kids. But then they're criticizing the research on the effects of hormones,
Right.
Because that's transgender mouse, which makes no sense, as the guy was saying. So yeah, this is how we do biochemical research, biological research. We use animal models to study the effects of basic things like hormones.
You're 2 clicks into it, they won't understand it.
Yeah.
And they don't care. That's the problem. Like it has the letters.
I know, but we
TR
want to make
in
them
it.
seem stupid. So that's
I know,
that's
but the idea here is that, again, they have vilified this whole thing. They've created a straw man of so many different aspects of the whole thing.
It's a complete straw
Yeah,
man.
and they're gonna do what they do, and they've got another 3.8 years left to fuck the country into the ground.
Yeah.
But let's also not fall for like the transgenic thing. I feel like that was
Well, that
maybe
was
a slip up.
That was a reasonable assumption.
Reasonable
Like,
assumption,
does he
yes,
mean
true.
transgenic? Because they were starting from the assumption that there are no transgender mice.
Right.
So but there are transgenic mice. Maybe that was the mistake he made. But yes, but that's a reasonable hypothesis. But they should have researched it and found out first. If there was a specific study he was referring to, just find out what that is. In this
Yeah.
case, it was they're just studying sex hormones in mice. Okay,
Yeah, it's
that's-
just like a minor critique of science communication, but
Minor.
it's good to bring.
the bottom line is still the same.
it's
It
still
is
the same.
completely that the transgender thing is wrong, and
Right.
it's completely
It's so dumb.
anti-intellectual, attack on perfectly legitimate science,
Right.
trying to make it seem ridiculous because he's an ignoramus, who doesn't understand how science works.
Right. Apparently, also the Doge boys. I don't know if you saw this, but they searched POC for a lot of the USAID and other documents. Like if they find POC in any of the documents, they were going to stop funding to it. However, POC is often used for point of contact when it comes to like disease
Yeah.
verification. So apparently,
What did they think it referred to?
They thought person of color.
Oh.
So there's a lot of like instances
Oh my
where
God.
they're like defunding certain viral research because it has POC
because
in
they
it.
use point of contact.
So
yeah.
clearly these aren't the the
I
smartest.
thought
knives
it
in the
stood for piece
drawer.
of crap, but that's just me.
They could be that. They're also banning that. Anyway, so that was the thing that popped up yesterday and was going around the social media sphere, which is annoying. Anyway, let's see. Can I lick it?
I gotta tell you, I have no idea where this is going.
Yeah.
So I hope it's good.
Yeah.
I always assume yes.
There's only one way to find out.
That's
right?
true.
That's true.
It's, you got to start. Where would you start? Probably at the top and see what ones you guys are you familiar with? Have you?
Nice.
So you wanna go
familiar
through the
with these?
entire-
Let's see. Yeah.
Periodic table.
Have
and
you
ask-
licked helium or hydrogen before?
Well, kinda.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
in my mouth.
licked. Yeah, I've certainly inhaled helium.
As douche.
Um,
You're right.
I don't think I've specifically inhaled
I guess that's true.
hydrogen.
Yeah, hydrogen probably haven't done that. Although, yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's part of water.
I mean, what are we going to do here? Go through the table? And
I just found it on Reddit and I thought it was funny. This is
It is
a
kinda
good
funny.
list of.
I think I've licked batteries.
Oh yeah, that's true. So what is battery probably
Nickel, metal
and,
hydride, lithium.
lithium maybe. So maybe not a good idea is current ranking of lithium. You really shouldn't for a lot of these beryllium, sodium.
No, beryllium's toxic. Do not lick beryllium.
Sodium, that's very explosive, right?
Yes, but if you
Potassium?
combine it now, does it count
water?
if you lick sodium chloride? Do you get twofer,
That's a good point.
or does it have to be elemental?
Well, I guess I would assume elemental.
Yeah, you
based
don't
on
want to
this
lick
chart.
sodium. Don't lick sodium.
We got a lot of other ones. They're a little
it
blurry.
reacts with water.
We got francium. Is that francium? Radon, maybe?
Francium.
Francium? Something. I don't know what FR is. What's FR, chat? We got a lot of other. There's a lot of green, though. There's a lot of metals in here that seems like.
So green is you can lick it.
It says, sure, it's probably fine. So
Sure,
boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen.
So what do the different colors mean? Like yellow
Oh,
is...
so sorry. Yeah, I didn't explain that. So the green is sure it's probably fine.
Yeah.
Yellow is maybe not a good idea. Red indicates you really shouldn't.
Don't do it.
Which is some of the ones that we mentioned before,
Yeah.
beryllium, and then purple or violet, whatever. Please reconsider, which these are radioactive elements, it seems.
Right.
Mostly.
So don't lick uranium.
So yeah,
Or
so maybe
plutonium.
keep this on your wall for in the future. You need to lick something.
I think I've done okay without this chart.
Oh, okay.
I think we need to reconfigure the
Francium,
entire
okay.
periodic table based upon lickability.
That's true. What are scientists doing? Where is the money going?
But better than this,
This.
Ian,
They're
is-
studying transgender mice, and they can't straighten out the periodic table. Come on.
This question, though, can be applied to lots of different
Yes.
things.
Okay.
Like what?
And what?
Oh,
Don't
God.
get easy.
Animals? Like
Wait.
Yes!
can you lick?
Can you lick porcupine?
Yeah, porcupine is definitely in
Blowfish.
red.
Blowfish?
Blowfish is red.
That's a bad one. Although people do eat it, although you have to avoid the
Spiders, I would
Spiders,
have.
not lickable.
Porcupine's yellow. I
Tricky.
mean, you could lick it in one direction.
No, I would no.
No.
Not yellow.
You could.
You could.
No, they're barbed.
Well, you
No.
could lick anything
yeah, in
once.
one direction
Yeah, that's
against,
right.
against
No,
the
they work their
grain,
way into your skin.
with the
no.
grain.
Yeah, I think they have barbs.
I
on
don't
the
think
other
I don't
way.
think that applies.
I think Neil deGrasse Tyson put this post out where he has a picture of a mushroom, a weird-looking mushroom, and he goes,
Hello.
"Scientists have found that this mushroom, if eaten, can feed you for the rest of your life."
the rest of your life, which will be 10 seconds.
All right, so we were moving on to should I lick it?
Should I? Yes, that'll be the next one. Okay, so I have an email actually that somebody sent us in, which maybe we can talk about this.
Okay, let's do it.
This is basically how can we help teachers maybe promote critical thinking. I don't know if you read this email, but it's I'm a UK skeptic and been listening for a long time. I've been listening from the start of the podcast and love it. I'm not too fond of religion or politics, just for a statement for you to know, but is there any way to know if I and my wife and my children are critical thinkers? Like, how do you know you're a critical thinker? Any questions that I can ask myself to determine if I'm a critical thinker? And also, my wife is a teaching assistant in school and doesn't think teaching the children to be analytical thinkers makes any difference to their education. I think she doesn't quite get what analytical thinker is or can't teach it, but I'm not so sure. So can you help me help her and
So I think
myself?
the most important question to ask yourself is, are you a critical thinker?
Right.
That's actually the best starting place. If you don't ask that question, then you're not even up to bat. Right. So just, and it's not black or white, obviously. It's not a destination, it's a journey. But it's a skill set, and it's a skill set you should try to develop over your entire life. Right. You're never done. You're never there. But a good place to start is to read The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe book, which is designed to be a primer exactly for that, to get here's the basic set of critical thinking skills.
But let's come up
to
with
get
a few.
you started.
Let's come up with a few questions. I think that would be telling. Okay.
Yeah.
My first question is, are you capable, and do you ever admit that you're wrong?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. If the answer is no, obviously, then you're probably not like allowing yourself to admit that you're wrong, which means that you're believing in a lot of nonsense. If some position that you have is challenged, what would it take for you to be convinced that you're wrong, and could you easily roll into that new?
Yeah,
thought?
I mean, your relationship to evidence is important. But for me, a quick and dirty way to deal with this is is just probably a short questionnaire. What do you believe in? If you believe in things like that the moon landing was a hoax and in grand conspiracies, then I would quickly tick off, no, you're probably not a critical thinker if you believe in that stuff. So
that's right. Yeah, I have that questionnaire that I give before seminars, or longer lectures, where it's like I'm up to like 40 questions or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot of that. It's a lot of questions that are about scientific literacy, media savvy, and critical thinking skills.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very revealing. But that's that. But again, that's the kind of thing you'll get from reading the book.
We need to come up with like a void comp test to see if people are skeptics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could do an online test. How skeptical are you?
Absolutely, we should.
Ooh,
And gather data.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a good
I
idea.
like this.
All right, make it happen.
up
Ian,
with a
get on
cool
it.
name.
All right.
Okay. Right away.
And for $300 an hour, you can call in and we will give you a live session
where we tell you
live skeptical
how gullible
information.
you are for
Yeah.
calling in and giving us
right.
$300.
I mean, I do think though, like Steve's first suggestion, like, reading a book that teaches skepticism. I mean, you could judge it as you're going through. How much of these things do you agree with, or are you practicing, or do you, kind of unconsciously are already doing that type of stuff.
But seriously, the biggest difference, I mean, there are people who think about their thinking, right, and people who don't.
Metacognition.
Metacognition.
So just being in the loop of thinking about how you answer questions, how you decide whether to believe in something or not, or how much or how confident you are about it, or how we know what we know. Just engaging in those types of questions, that's the critical bit. Now you're on the journey. If you're not questioning those things, you're not on the journey. Then you're just sort of going with the flow, right? You're not engaged in metacognition. That's sort of, to me, that's the biggest difference right there. Everything else is a detail, right? Everything else is just, you're somewhere along the spectrum. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, thank you for emailing.
But
us.
the other part of his question was
was the kids. Yeah.
was
go
the
ahead.
teaching critical thinking or analytical thinking, he
Right.
said in schools. Absolutely, that's important. I explicitly teach analytical thinking to medical students.
Yeah.
It is something that is absolutely critical. Again, that gets to thinking about your thinking. And I always try to back up as far as I can go in terms of like the biggest picture possible. It's like, how do we even make diagnoses? What are diagnoses? How do we come up with those labels? What kind of thinking strategy do doctors employ? You could apply this to anything. So what is analytical thinking? Like, can you give a good definition of what analytical thinking even is versus, and what's the alternative, right? In more intuitive thinking, and what are the strengths and weaknesses of these different things, et cetera, et cetera. Like, what's the philosophy of epistemology, of how we know things? You can just keep going deeper and deeper, and it's absolutely critical to explain that to children. I do think, like when teaching science, we've said this forever, you have to teach not just what we know currently, but how we know and how did we get to that point. The best lectures science lectures I've ever heard, whether they were just like in audio or in class or on YouTube or whatever, are always ones that walk you through the history of the idea. Like, this is what they used to believe, this is why they believed it, then this person did this experiment, and then that everything changed, now we believe this thing, and then it keeps going, and you build the case for where we are today.
Yeah.
It's like, so if you don't agree with where we are, then you have to give me a reason, because this is how we got here, rather than just saying this is what we believe, this is what scientists say, and this is the facts, which doesn't really help you that much.
That reminds me, I took a calculus class when I was getting my master's, and calculus, man, I'm not a calculus guy. I never did fantastic in math. I did fine, but I took a math class, a calculus class, and the teacher explained to us historically. He went through the development of calculus and why they needed to do the various things and the various discoveries that it led to. I mean, I got an A in that class. He made it so interesting. I was engaged. He was so engaging. So that was definitely a great way to learn something that's not necessarily an easy topic for a lot of people.
The other aspect of that, so part is, I agree, teaching like how it came about historically, but also, and this is something that I find very frustrating about like public school education, is giving examples of how you would use this in the real world, like how it is used. In general, textbooks and and schoolwork does a terrible job of that. Terrible.
I don't think they do it at all.
I mean, even when they try to do it, they give ridiculous examples. Like, nobody does that. How about giving real life examples? Like this is an astronomer might use this specific calculation to calculate the distance to stars or whatever. Use how it's actually used in the real world. And it's a difference between like just teaching kids facts versus giving them skills.
Yeah.
Like you give somebody a skill, they own it. They own it forever.
I mean, it's very. I think it's inherent in discussing critical thinking, where you are instructing the person how to do it, right? Because there is a method to it, and there's layers and levels, right? So learning logical fallacies early on is very helpful because it gives you lots of different examples of ways that the misinformation can slip into a conversation, or the way that person's logical approach. But it takes time. This is one of those things. Like you can read the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe book, or there's other books out there that have similar information, right? But
nothing is good. Though.
Nothing. Yeah. No.
But the point is, like, it's something that you have to put time into, and that's why I think podcast is good, because you're getting it every week, getting a little bit more information. Especially our earlier episodes, where we because we don't want to repeat ourselves 300,000 times on the podcast. We have been doing this for 20 freaking years.
Someone says in the chat, sometimes math is just abstract and doesn't really have an applied purpose. I disagree with that. App always has an applied purpose. Math is developed to purpose, right? We didn't just develop it just for the sake of doing it. Especially like definitely through high school. Maybe when you get to like math PhDs who are working on very esoteric theorems or whatever, but the math that your kids are going to learn in school all have a very specific purpose. All of it. Just because you don't know what it is doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I think that's part of the problem, is that we're not taught what is the actual purpose of this. I also, related to that is, again, I not too long ago ushered both of my daughters through the entire public school system, and they struggled a lot with math, only because it was so poorly taught. And it's also like the math is supposed to build on itself, right? You learn basic skills and you use those skills to build more sophisticated skills, right? First you have to learn like the mathematics, then you learn algebra and then trigonometry. They build on each other, but they don't really show how it builds on itself, right? And they don't go back and reinforce remember these skills, now we're going to use these skills to do these other things, right? And this is, anyway, I had to almost reteach them everything that they were supposed to be learning in class. But the good news is, it was a great resource for that?
The internet?
YouTube.
Yeah.
There's better teaching on YouTube for anything they wanted to learn. Like, forget, I don't care what the textbook says. I don't care what your teacher showed you. What is the thing you're supposed to learn? All right, let's go to YouTube and find somebody who knows what they're talking about, explaining exactly all the things that I'm talking about.
I find
and doing it well.
Yeah, so doing it well.
Talking extensively with my kids, my gut tells me that quite frequently, like my son is in 6th grade and he's got multiple teachers, like a different teacher for every subject now. It's not just one or a small group of teachers. I don't get the feeling that the teachers are speaking passionately about the subjects, particularly his science teacher. And I like the guy. I've met him many times. He's a nice guy and everything. But like, I'll talk to my son when he gets home from school, and there isn't like, oh, but did he tell you about this? Like they were talking about salt dissolving in water and what happens chemically. Yeah. And then how it goes from being salt to not, and then it comes back into being salt, right? Like because it dissolves and it changes. But I'm like, don't you want to know what happens next? Or there was questions that were not asked or talked about, which I thought were so obviously needed to make it interesting, right? To make it the kind of thing where you kind of
feed
understand
the curiosity.
The story. Exactly. And that's part of the problem with education today, is I think that there's hoops that they have to jump through. Like pretty much they have to teach this particular thing
to the test
on this week, because they have to go. This comes up a lot. We have to move on to the next thing. We can't stay here. We got to move on to the next. There's a schedule.
That's part of it. And listen, there are great teachers out there, and the evidence shows that makes all the difference in the world. That's like the single predictor of how well the students do and how much they learn. It's the quality of the teacher. But that is, also a problem because that tells me that the system isn't working.
Yep.
It's up to the individual to do a good individual job
Yeah.
teaching. But the baseline could be really low, right?
Well, we like bass lines to be low. I mean, they hold down the
All
music, right, Ian?
Bass player, I get it.
Yeah, you hear what I'm saying.
I-
But again, like science is mostly taught by non-scientists in public school, right? And that is a problem.
Lost the chat. There
Yeah.
it is. Back.
So when are you going to use the quadratic formula in real life?
Yeah,
it's
Steve.
like, projectile motion, I think.
Yeah.
If you're a YouTuber and you're making projectiles, you'll probably need to find out what the X.
Yeah, I'm not saying like
is.
the average person in the everyday life, but these skills are useful in specific professions and for
Instances, yeah.
specific tasks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even if you're a developer, you're probably going to have to know what the X or the quadratic equation is to put into your formula.
Mhm.
Or in Unreal Engine, you probably need to have physics be reasonable.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you
you're
get
making a video
if
game,
you get
let's
into
say.
anything physics, that's all math. You
Yeah.
need to know all of it.
Clicking back to our earlier conversation, there was a point I wanted to make about critical thinking.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
baloney detection kit, right?
Yeah.
Like I largely feel like that isn't like something that you are actively doing. It's more of like the red flags that go up. And I noticed recently just how much that is in play for me all the time when I'm reading stuff online, right? You see people making crazy posts and all this stuff if you're doing any of that, because of the politics in the United States in particular. Like my ability to have that thing go off in my brain, like, wait a second, I don't think this is true. I got to do more research here. I don't take anything for granted like that anymore. It's super useful. It's so powerful because it's happening automatically, right? You've learned a skill set, and this particular skill set happens by itself in my head, right? It happens that way for you too, right?
Yeah.
You're sitting there and like you're not actively going, I better be critical about this. It just happens.
Becomes an instinct.
Yeah, and that instinct, I think, is so valuable. And it's a really good end game marker of whether or not you're a critical thinker, is if you've developed that. Because it takes
Yeah.
work. You can't
It does take
automatically-
work, but at
yeah.
the same time, like there's so much simple bullshit out there that if you have just the basic nuts and bolts, you're 95% of the way there.
Yeah.
lots of
You know what I
low-hanging
mean?
fruit.
Like just recognizing conspiracy thinking for what it is, like that's half the bullshit that's out there. Just recognizing some basic aspects of pseudoscience.
Well, it's easy on TikTok because they always play that same music.
Yeah.
So we have something else coming up, don't we, Ian?
Yes.
The bread thing. The bread thing.
Oh, right.
what's
I thought
that
you meant
about?
Nauticon. I thought that was a Nauticon.
No, I'm better at
thing.
transitions than that. man.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Will it
Will
bread?
it
Okay,
bread?
this is a segment that isn't. I was gonna make bread, but then I didn't. So I made something else that you might recognize.
Okay, you made a
We'll
poopy?
see if you can remember what it's called. Okay.
All right, so wait, you cooked something for us?
Ah,
All right, he's walking over to us with plastic in his hands. Okay, he opened something. He's putting it's pink in color and brown.
You remember what that was called?
These are you made it.
Oh, you made these.
no way.
These
Oh,
are from
I wish I was paying
show the
attention
camera.
to that
Show the
segment.
camera.
Oh yeah.
the pink and
Ian.
brown.
Hold on, let me switch the other camera. There.
Done good, kid.
Do you remember what it's called?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yep.
No.
No.
You liar.
Was it Italy this was from?
No, Australia.
Oh, yeah, right,
man.
Australia.
Australia.
Well,
And
these
it
are
was
delicious.
named after somebody's last name.
They were
who
snuggly backs.
supposedly invented it.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any Australians in the chat
Hmm.
that know what it is? I don't know if any Australia. It's not a perfect recreation. Like it's my first attempt at it.
Dude,
Pretty
they're
good.
delicious.
But it's like, yeah, it's a little dough thing, and it's got strawberry, raspberry, strawberry jam inside. It has mock cream, which is like a gelatin
there's another
and
layer?
butter.
Oh my god.
And then it's got chocolate and a vanilla pink top. Anybody remember what it was called?
No. Oh my god, it was so good, Ian.
It's good? Oh,
Yeah.
good.
It's delicious, dude.
Yeah, it's sugar.
you
You know,
didn't have
what are you
one?
going to do? I
sugar
I
and
had
cream,
one. They're
yeah.
good. So it's called a Neenish tart.
Tart, yeah.
If you remember that
Neenish
from
tart.
on Friday, we did a food guesser. This is what it's actually supposed to look like, and it's it's not. Oops, there we go.
That's, yeah.
It's close. It's like
It's a good
they have a little
facsimile.
bit better, but maybe that's closer.
Did you make the soup too?
I made the soup. Yes, I made a little soup that you can dip.
Ian,
little
that was
tomato soup.
delicious,
That's
man.
good, right?
Dude, I could eat
I
3
think every
more.
week you have to feed us something
That's-
that we looked at the previous week.
That's what I was actually planning on doing. It's like some other stuff. Maybe not every food, because some of those are hard. This
No.
one seems
Ian,
reasonable.
Not the shrimp heads.
Hey,
no.
Not the
Ian,
sh-
Sharon wants the recipe,
Okay. I mean, if you just look up Nina Starts, it's
so you're not going to help her. That's what I'm
Nina
saying.
Starts.
Okay.
I mean, it's Sharon, for Christ's sake.
I think I used this one. It's pretty basic. I mean, it's all sugar. It seems like the Australians just do sugar. They also do this like fairy bread where it's just like sprinkles on bread and butter, and it's like, okay, Australia.
It's all good.
I mean, that's cool too.
It's all
whatever.
sugar and fat.
It's all sugar and fat.
I really like strawberry jelly.
Yeah,
Really
right?
like it. Yeah.
It's cool.
No, I'm sorry. I meant raspberry.
Never mind.
Yeah. I know strawberry's fine, but raspberry.
Strawberry's good. Raspberry's good.
I like.
Raspberry's
I like
better.
the. I like
You
tart.
like raspberry better than strawberry?
I do. Oh,
Yeah.
infinitely. It has a little bit more tartness to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Yeah.
I like raspberry.
Anyways,
Strawberry's fine, though.
so I figured, yeah, this could be a new segment. Will it bread? I'll make breads, or you guys can make breads and bring them in.
I mean,
and
who
some
do we
stuff
know
like
that bakes bread?
But not
I
sweet
don't know.
breads.
Not brains. But so there's some stuff that we can do.
Somebody asked what my master's is in. I don't have the master's. I went through 95% of it. There were 3 classes
He's
left.
just masterful.
I never finished it. It started getting expensive, and I realized what really demotivated me was realizing that it had no impact on my job.
Yeah, it wasn't going to. It wasn't going to help.
It wasn't going to give me a raise. It would have only potentially made a difference if I was trying for a new job, and it was me against another guy, and we were identical, except I had a degree in a master's in computer science, and he or she didn't. That never happened. So it just was not a benefit, and it's just like I lost interest. I would have loved to have finished it. It's only 3 classes.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh well.
You still have the credits? Do it online.
I think it's been so long now that it's like they would be like, yeah, you got to do 3/4 of all that again. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, especially not now.
Johnny
Fine.
Rose, what kind of bread do you bake?
Ooh. That's true.
And I'd warn everybody. This is one of my things. I mean, I might talk about this longer than you want.
Yeah, I got some plans for some bread
We're used to
for
it, Jay,
next
it's
week
all right.
or the next week. I
Talk to
posted
me
the link
about
in
yeast.
Discord.
Go ahead.
Yeast.
Yeast.
Hey,
What do you want to know about yeast?
You got a yeast guy?
These fucking guys are
gotta-
multiplying. You know.
Yeah.
I'm on it. Oh, skip your
Yeast.
brains,
I mean,
maybe.
yeast is a perfect example of
Thanks, Dan.
of microbiology that creates.
Stuff.
Creates chemicals or
Yeah.
has a byproduct from its
Like
metabolic.
Yeah.
Debater.
And the yeast that we use to make bread is the yeast that we use to make beer, right?
Yeah.
Because that
Is it the same yeast?
It is the same yeast.
Mm-hmm.
That yeast creates alcohol as a byproduct, CO2 and alcohol.
Yeah.
And what did he say? Jay with the glasses is so natural.
On TikTok, people
Yeah.
are putting little emoji things over your head. So, like, it's
that's
when
fine.
they donate, they can do that.
Thank you.
So, if you want to see weird things on TikTok, go
Yeah,
to
I
TikTok.
figured something was going on behind my back. All right, so Johnny, I also make a great sourdough with my own starter. Actually my sourdough is called Do Re Mi. No, it's called Bruce Lee. And why did I call it Bruce Lee? Because it kicks ass.
Kicks ass.
All right.
Yeah.
I get it.
I think Johnny, you and I should talk off of this
'Cause it's
broadcast.
like water, my friend.
It'd be fun. info@theskepticsguide.org. Email me. I'd like to chit chat with another baker.
No, that emails everybody. Go to send it directly to jnovella@theskepticsguide.org.
Yeah, the letter J.
Letter
novella.
J. Novella.
Yes, that's.
So send it.
I thought you were about to give my real
No,
email
no,
address,
no.
and I was like, I'm going to hurt you.
Yeah, which is
I already get
Jay
lots
the
of weird
bread
email.
boy.
Is everybody
99.
in the world now? Help me out, guys.
Huh?
I get texts every single day
Yes.
about like this. Hey, I missed your call last night. Do you
Yeah.
want to talk?
They're fishing. That's
Yeah,
all.
but it's about every topic you could think about.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they'll write anything.
They've got a new angle.
They don't
Right.
matter. It doesn't matter. They're just trying to get somebody to respond.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And then once you respond, even if your response is, "Oh, you have the wrong guy," they're like, "Oh, okay, but how are you doing?
What are you
Whatever,
wearing?"
yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to get somebody who's like bored enough to respond to a stupid text.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
It's a numbers game.
I
Yeah.
often just want to just once say, just reply and say, get a life. Just give me a break. It's because I get so many of them.
But
Yeah,
they're trying to loop you in for months and then steal all your money.
Right.
That's what they're
Yeah,
doing.
they're
Oh
gonna-
yeah,
they're
it's
gonna-
just like I never ever reply, and I always hit the report junk link, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, it doesn't matter. Is it even doing anything to say to report junk on those damn texts? I don't think it's
I don't
doing
think
much.
so.
I mean, there's so many. They just jump to different numbers. It's so annoying.
Well, I'm sure they sent that same exact text to 20,000
Sure,
people.
sure.
You know, like
and only even less than 1% hit rate, they're gonna get a bunch of hits and potentially some.
and you might not even be talking to a human if you wrote back. I mean, with the
Mhm.
AI where it's
yeah.
at.
Until you get to a certain level, yeah.
Yeah, I like the guys that the people that waste the time of these scammers.
Yeah, there's a couple guys.
I
do
read that there was an AI program that I think it would actually talk on the phone as a grandma and go and just a grandma that's not very technically inclined and just wasting time for these people that call
Yeah.
and try to scam, take advantage of the senior citizens, and it was just so hilarious that you just all these all the things that your grandma would say to an IT person on the phone,
Yeah.
trying to scam them. Like, well, how do you do this again? And how do you turn the computer on? And where I can't find my map. Just anything
Yeah.
to make it a long ordeal that
Yeah.
they're going to just not scam anyone else in that time.
Oh, I saw
But
something.
all AI, all automated.
Yeah, I mean that is happening like crazy now. These, you could buy time to use the API from Open AI, for example,
Oh,
like
yeah.
ChatGPT, and I have a story about this. So recently, they discovered that Russia was. I mean, this is 100% hand caught in the cookie jar. Russia uses the OpenAI ChatGPT. What do you call it again, Ian?
LLM. What do you mean?
No, they're using. They're talking. I can't believe I forgot that. This is my
API?
The API. So the API allows you to programmatically talk to the ChatGPT programmatically, right? So you could be writing code that will make requests for ChatGPT to do things, and it's not happening with just written language, like it's doing it through
Right.
code, right? Okay. So anyway, APIs are powerful and they're used every day all over the world. Like it's a
yeah.
fantastic thing. Like a big business will pay for the ability to use an API, like for Amazon, to post their products instead of having a human go in and do it. They have it all automated, right? It's the right way
Yeah.
to do it. So anyway, Russia got caught with their pants down because they didn't pay their ChatGPT fee, and it threw an error. And this chatbot was basically like questioning and ridiculing people for talking out against Russia, for example, or speaking up for Ukraine, for example.
Right.
And their thing threw an error, and it basically showed their code and showed like the source and everything, what kind of responses that they wanted it to give, because they gave it a textual
Nice.
thing. Boom, right there, right? Does it hit major news for some reason? Like, why doesn't everybody on the planet see this and see what they're doing? I don't know. It's that type of shit that really aggravates me. It's like, that's newsworthy. That's a big deal. They are involved. They are literally doing these internet campaigns to try to sow division on social media. There's your proof. If anybody wants to speak out against that, like, go suck an egg, because that's happening. Very interesting though. And again, like, are you telling me that OpenAI doesn't know that Russia is paying for that service?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, legitimately, I think they know, and they just don't give a shit because that's business today.
Yep. Anyway.
And you have nothing to say about that, Ian. I find that interesting.
Well,
now I question whether these
what
cookies
about
were poisoned or not.
What about planes falling from the
It
sky?
happens
Does
every
that
day.
ever happen?
Does that ever happen?
not happen
So,
every
did
day.
you guys? This was 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you guys saw this plane crash. I don't think anybody was died or was seriously hurt, but there were
Let's
some
take a look.
injuries. But this was the Toronto one.
Yep.
It comes off the back of all the other plane crashes that seem to have been happening back to back. So anyway, let's just watch this, because this is a video of it crashing, and then there's another angle, which I'll show.
Oh yes.
So if you remember, it was an icy runway, and then it took, and then just,
Holy shit!
And it
Yeah,
spun.
flipped over.
And they all survived, right?
yeah, it seems like everybody actually made it out.
So what happened? Were the wheels not down?
The wheels apparently, and it was icy, and it just popped. You can show up into this. That's right. What is it?
That's scary, man.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. So that was one. And then let's look at, here is an inside view of the aftermath of them coming out. Somebody yells at him, like, put the phone away.
Come on. Don't take your video. Put that phone away.
Put that phone away. Like, of course not.
Holy fuck.
Whoa.
Holy fuck.
That's exactly what I'd be saying.
Yeah, what
man.
else? There's nothing else to say.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, that runway is
Oh my
icy.
fucking god.
It's upside down. That plane's fully upside down.
Yeah, crazy. It must have rolled.
Yo,
Yeah.
I was just on this fucking plane.
This guy is exactly how.
Of
everybody
course, you have
feels.
to. You have to video that.
I know. You have to video.
You walk
can't
away
not.
from a plane crash. You want to document that as much as
Yo, I
possible.
was just on this fucking plane. Holy fuck.
I would have grabbed some of those biscotti cookies on the way out.
That's you know what? That was a
It was
mistake.
Delta, yeah.
That was a mistake. So, do you guys think that monthly air crashes have increased since Donald Trump
It
has got in
sounds like
office?
it. Seems
Do you
like it. I
think?
mean,
Or is it
I
media?
mean, I wouldn't assume just based upon
Based on the way I'm
So what's the
framing it,
answer?
maybe.
What's the answer?
It seems like there's not really much. It seems kind of consistent with what.
It's
has
too
happened.
soon for
It's
anything
too
to happen
soon.
anyway.
It's like total number of accidents. There's each year there are a lot. They don't necessarily get reported. The one, though, however, with the Black Hawk or whatever,
Yeah.
and that was a big one.
the Black Cock?
No,
Black Hawk.
Helicopter.
The helicopter that and that was like a commercial airline.
Yeah, I
and
saw
all
that,
those people
yep.
died. That was a huge one. But it seems like the media maybe is skewing towards sensationalizing maybe other accidents. Although this one is pretty, it's important. The one that just happened, the
So
Toronto one.
let's dissect this just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so clearly to me, the runway wasn't being maintained for the current weather conditions. Like I think we know damn well, how non-icy a runway needs to be in order for there to be a safe landing. Like how did that happen? And it makes me question whether or not that they're not spending the money to have the staff to maintain the goddamn runway.
Somebody here.
That was Canada though, Toronto. So
Yeah.
just so we
Still,
can-
I mean,
Still.
it's a commercial jet that I fly on that airline. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
and United and Delta and all these airlines, when they have access to an airport like most of the airports that they service, they are a heavy contributor into the infrastructure of that airport. Right? They're like the deal that the airport has with them is part of the reason why the airport can exist. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's just the facility's fault either. Like it could be the airlines themselves could have something to do with that. I don't know.
I
There's
I
lots
think
to
it was
find
more
out.
weather though. Somebody was saying here, and this makes perfect sense, that there's a gust of wind. Like, is it a microburst? Is that what that's called? It was what played into this, and that makes sense because even if it's icy, you could land and you could slide and not break well, but to actually have the wing hit that fast, to me, points to like something weather related, like a gust of wind or some microburst.
I don't know.
That played
Yeah, and
a
this is
factor.
Lenka apparently is from Toronto. We had a ton of snow, and they were working so hard to clear it, but they just couldn't keep up. The flights should have been canceled. So
Well, there you go. Flights should have
oversight
been
of,
canceled.
perhaps-
But the question is, did they get their luggage?
right, that's the truth. Is it does it take longer to get it or faster? You think that it's all flung across the?
No, that plane was the fuselage was intact. I mean, the wings got ripped off.
Yeah.
It was really good. Yeah, there was a lot of fire, and there was all that jet fuel that were in the wings that was burning and everything. But I'm really glad that it didn't follow the typical movie thing where the
It's
entire
gonna
plane
blow.
freaking explodes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a full-on
Fireball.
yeah.
Fire,
I mean, I guess that's possible, but I'm,
Each passenger got 30K. Okay, well,
Right.
I mean that.
all right. So that begs the next
crash
question.
at
No,
30K.
Would you?
no,
No,
no, I don't think so.
No fucking way.
wouldn't roll those dice.
Yeah, those dice
See,
are
my
not.
fear.
They're
I'd
weighted.
go through that for 30K.
I don't know. That's that you're going to survive.
Yes.
sure. But
Yes,
if
of
you
course.
don't know, that's the point.
I don't know. I don't think it felt good to be strapped into those seats, be
Yeah, it's a
turned
lot.
over upside down, then you had to unbuckle yourself and fall down to the roof of the plane. Like that. That's dangerous.
Yeah, I wonder how much PTSD too. Also, would people have
Hell
flying
yeah.
again?
I mean, you heard that kid. I mean, he was clearly shooken up.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
mean, certainly.
They're all shook up. Is that what you're
All
Yeah.
shook up, literally and physically.
Yeah, that's true. Future plane flights would be more anxiety provoking.
Hell yeah.
Yes. Well, luckily, we're increasing spending on the federal funding level of.
Right. Now we won't
safe
feel
travel.
we won't feel
okay.
stuff for a while, but it's
Right.
going to get bad.
Yeah, that's
Like
like the
be
inertia.
more
of-
specific. Talk to me about what you feel, Steve.
I mean, the one one thing I'm obviously very worried about is NIH funding.
Yeah.
And what there are a lot of researchers, a lot of universities, a lot of scientists and physicians who are very worried about what's going to happen going forward. If things keep going the way they are, and like the courts don't massively intervene, Doge and Trump are gutting our scientific R&D infrastructure.
Of course they are.
In this country.
Yeah.
Which is insane. It's absolutely insane. Like, let's give away and squander our biggest long-term advantage, the thing that's really kept America on top for a century. Let's just throw that away for no reason.
I heard they fired a huge percentage of the people that work for the new chips thing. The factory where we're supposed to be making chips in the United States.
Well, Biden did it, so it has to be
Doggy.
bad, right?
Yeah.
It's not, isn't it? Okay. I know you're joking, but I think we should call it douche.
Douche.
Not Doge. It's
Yeah.
douche. Douche. Anyway, whatever. Lab leak. I mean, I don't know if there's anything beyond what like the CIA, right?
There's
or
nothing
FBI
new.
said like, oh yeah, but I don't think there's anything.
Oh, here's the quick summary. I'll go back to the beginning. So in 2020,
What?
2020, in March of 2020,
long ago.
when COVID was just
It
starting,
was just starting.
there were conspiracy theorists who were saying that the virus was genetically engineered and deliberately released.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? And that particular conspiracy theory was very quick and easy to shoot down because all you have to do is examine the virus itself. And so very in short order, there were multiple papers looking at
talked about it, yeah.
the structure of the virus saying this is not genetically engineered. This is there's no telltale signs of genetic engineering in this virus. This appears to be a natural spillover event. And then that got labeled as, a conspiracy theory, and there was, that famous paper, I think it was in the Lancet or one of those British journals saying, can we stop this? Everybody, there's clearly no evidence that this virus has been engineered, and so we need to move past this. Fast forward 1 year to 2021. And interestingly, there actually was a study where they looked at every mention of any term related to this in the media, so you could see it mapped out over time. So anyway, starting in the spring of 2021, that's the first time the word lab leak with respect to COVID is mentioned. It didn't really take off until June of 2021. So what happened was the narrative shifted. Once the lab engineered virus, conspiracy theory was utterly dead, then the notion, well, maybe it was a naturally occurring virus, but that it was being studied in the Wuhan lab and it leaked from the lab, accidental lab leak. That became the new hypothesis. But there was never any evidence that happened. That was just an alternative talking point to get around the fact that the engineered virus was completely disproven. But that was studied too. That was taken seriously enough to study it as well. I mean, maybe it got a little bit of shade from being associated with the lab engineered theory. But the bottom line was there was research on it, because they were still researching the origins of COVID. And so there's two broad ways to approach the question of did COVID leak from the Wuhan lab? One is the more basic science, virology, epidemiology approach. What are the features of the virus? We look at samples, like of the first samples from the first people who were known to be infected, and what were the structure of those viruses, and just epidemiologically tracing the very first ones, and also looking for the animal vector, right? What animal did it come from? So where that stands is that the majority of virologists studying it think that the weight of the evidence supports a zoonotic spillover, probably related to the meat market in Wuhan, right? So that's the most likely hypothesis from a scientific point of view. But they have not found the smoking gun species of animal that the zoonotic spillover occurred in. So there's still a question mark there, but that's probably the best answer. However, the other way to answer the question is just as like an intelligence question. Is there evidence that China is covering up a leak from their own lab, right? And there, the U.S. intelligence organizations have said that they think that's the more likely scenario, and they mainly cite as evidence China's squirrelishness about it, right? The squirreliness about it. Like China's not really fully forthcoming with a lot of transparency. But then their most recent statement, which was a few weeks ago, I think, they said, yeah, we think that the lab leak hypothesis, again, from an intelligence perspective, they're not second guessing the scientists, is slightly more likely than a meat market, leak or spillover.
But that's notably
But they have no
office.
evidence really.
Right.
They have no smoking gun evidence for that, and it's very low confidence conclusion, and it's only like slightly more likely.
Yeah.
So that's where it stands. So it's like the scientists are like, this was a zoonotic spillover. That's the most likely answer. The intelligence community is like, I don't know. Those Chinese are being awfully squirrely. That's basically where it stands. But there's no new information. Yeah, as I said, we haven't found the smoking gun zoonotic source. So it remains an open question until we do. That we may never find it. It may take years to find it. But in the absence of that, we still have epidemiological and virological, data to look at, and that still supports the spillover hypothesis.
All right, I have a question now.
Right. Yes.
This is not just for us here to discuss, but I'd like to hear what the listeners here think as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Trump put out the tariffs, Mexico, Canada, and China.
Yeah.
Right? So how quickly will we see the price increases?
Pretty quickly.
I think we already
Right?
did.
Yeah, pretty quickly.
And
And Canada is and China are instituting, tit for tat tariffs, and Mexico is probably going to follow suit.
Right.
Tariffs,
Very
I like
soon.
it. Tit for
I
tat
haven't
tariffs.
seen a resource yet that shows like this is what the prices were in the middle of February and here's what they are today.
Oh, we'll
Like,
be
But
seeing
I
that.
think they need more time for that to happen, but I think it's already started. It's starting to happen, and it happens for a number of ways. There's the direct increase in cost, right? Company has got to pay taxes on importing parts or goods or whatever, and they pass that cost on to their customers. But also, let's say they have a competitor who uses all like American sourced material, they'll also increase their price.
Yeah.
Because they can.
Yeah, 'cause
Because now the price has gone up for that thing, so that gives them more headroom. They could just it tends to drive all of the prices up.
Now, what about this idea? Let's say the tariffs go into effect, like they have.
Yeah.
Prices go up, and then something is worked out 3 months, 6 months in the future, and the tariffs go away. You think the prices are going to come back down?
Who knows? They may say, well, people are used to these prices now, so let's just
Yeah.
quietly keep them.
Yeah.
And
they
as
will.
someone was saying, like even before their costs go up, they'll just use the fact that tariffs exist to raise their prices
Right.
in anticipation of the tariffs raising their costs. It's inflationary. It's just that's it. Tariffs are inflationary. One of the frustrating things is, we lived our lives, through the last 50 years of politics in the United States. If you go back to like the 80s, if anything, we were right of center politically, especially economically. So one of the mantras of the Republican Party for our entire life was free trade, free trade, free trade. It's amazing how on a dime they
Yeah.
completely abandoned their dedication to free trade because Jesus Trump said so. Like on a dime, like, oh, we're not for free trade. Okay,
Yeah.
I guess we're going to just chuck this thing that we've been ranting about for 50 years away because it's not important, because the Fuhrer says so. It's just ridiculous.
Well, not to go too political, but what do you think about the shift from Soviet Russia to now Russia is our friend? Like 50 years of anti-red
Same thing.
propaganda.
It's the
pretty
same
quick.
thing.
In like a couple years, is like, oh no, they're friends now.
All I know is that
It's crazy.
no one. I mean, is Trump a Russian asset or not? I don't know, but he's acting like one.
But I think Jon Stewart talked about that this week, and I think he nailed it.
How did he put it?
It's
They're all
not
dicks.
that he's like the Russians have some compromat on him or that he's literally a Russian agent. If you look at what's happening is a realignment of geopolitics It's no longer about capitalism versus communism. It's no longer about democracy versus authoritarianism. Where the MAGA right aligns with Putin is Christian nationalism. Because Putin,
Oh, man.
if you listen to Putin,
Yeah.
he might as well be Marjorie Taylor Greene. Seriously. He's like anti-trans,
Yep.
you know,
Anti-gay.
anti-gay, you know, again, all
Like heavily.
heavily,
Like, oh, yeah,
you know,
we will kill
it's-
you.
So MAGA has more in common with Putin socially, you know, than they do Europe
That's right.
or the Democrats.
That's a good point. That's a solid point.
So and I think and if you if you listen to like the behind the scenes strategizing of like Steve Bannon and others, when they're talking to each other, they get explicit. They don't hide what their goals are. They're trying to engineer a worldwide revolution, right? Where they are the winners, where Christian nationalism is now the new power in this
So
country.
Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, it's 100% Handmaid's Tale.
All
He
right.
said, "This is a bloodless revolution. If nobody pushes back against us, we're going to have a bloodless revolution, and it's 100% Handmaid's Tale, maybe without the rape, but
Jesus Christ.
that's what it
Don't
is.
count that out. Though.
That's what's happening. They're explicit about it. They're not hiding it. This is Project 2025.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's what it says. They want to consolidate power in the presidency, right? And it doesn't matter how much they destroy the Constitution or democracy or freedom or whatever. That's not important. The only thing that matters is getting this Christian nationalist agenda enacted. That's what's happening.
So, Steve, what do you think the chances are? Sorry, get on the mic. What do you think the chances are that in 2 years, when the midterms happen, that first off, will Congress and the House even have any teeth at that point? And
The Republicans in Congress are flaccid. They are laying down and letting this happen.
yeah, but I mean, do you think that there could be a change of control of the House and the Senate in 2 years, and will that actually have an effect on anything at that point?
What's opening up in 2 years in terms of possibilities?
So, I mean, the House is up every 2 years, right? That's 100% gets reelected every
Yeah.
2 years. So, and I was just reading an article about, gerrymandering is still a problem, but actually there's no structural Republican advantage at the moment because basically the Democrats gerrymandered in the same amount as the Republicans have.
Really?
Yeah, so
Right.
it's kind of
they
balanced
did
at the
it
moment.
as much and as
Yeah.
effectively.
Yep.
Well, I guess that's kind of good to know.
We should get rid of gerrymandering.
level
Yeah,
but, at
playing
but at
field.
least at
Gotta
the
play the
moment,
game while
at the
we're here.
moment, it's equally
It's a dead
gerrymandered.
heat. Yeah.
Well, that's
So
actually good to know.
the-
It's better than I thought.
Generally speaking, the party in power does poorly in the midterms.
Right.
It's hard for me to imagine, especially after 2018.
Except 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, except in 2018. Well, the Republicans still did better. They didn't do nearly as good as they should
Right,
have done,
right,
given
right.
given trends.
Yeah, but
So
the
I-
fucking, Steve, the fucking. What's he going to do in the next 2 years?
I don't
that's
know,
going to dismantle that.
But if there are free and fair elections in 2026, for
That's a
the
good
House,
preface right there.
then it seems likely that the Democrats will take control of the House. In fact, this is a long shot, but there are 3 House seats up,
could get it
up for
now.
special
Yeah.
election.
in the next month.
One April 1st in Florida, and then there's 2 other ones coming up soon.
Yeah,
But they're all in red districts.
very red. Yeah,
Very red. But if there's like an overwhelming, Democratic,
Yeah.
outpouring for those elections, if we flip those 3 seats, we flip the House now, not in 2
Wow.
years.
I don't think it's
It's
gonna
just
happen.
very unpunkly to happen. But I don't think we should throw it away.
In
we
this
should
environment-
push it.
in this
environment, if enough people are really concerned, like the thing is, you could support Trump, and I think a lot of the people who like in the middle who voted for Trump because the eggs were expensive may want to have some check on this like head spinning kind of stuff that he's doing. But anyway, that's a long shot. But even with, I think it's very likely we'll take the House. The Democrats will take the House in 2026. But Senate probably not because just the math isn't there. But maybe we'll gain a seat or 2. And then it may not be until 2028 that the Democrats take the Senate back again. But then it also depends on who runs for president in 2028. That will.
yeah.
that
The
will,
question is whether it'll be too late. There is a tracker if you want to check out the Project 2025
Yeah.
tracker. There's a website that like tracks at what point they are. It's like 6 months, I think, is the playbook.
Yeah.
Generally. Wait, we had a dono. I just want to say, you guys know about the Swedish union strike on Tesla? It's the longest strike on record,
Yeah.
and Tesla's trying to sue the Swedish government in retaliation. Well, shout out to the workers. I would say
Tesla's sales in Germany just tanked.
So
Yeah.
they've been.
good.
Well, Canada dropped their entire Starlink thing that's going to cost Tesla billions of dollars.
Not Tesla, but
But
Starlink.
Elon. Yeah,
all the
just
Musks,
Elon in
yeah.
general. So I wanted to say some numbers. I think so. It seems like Canada supplies us like 11% of our electricity to New England.
Yeah, they're threatening to cut it off.
Right, and then 80%, apparently, this is for New Hampshire specifically, the region's gasoline and diesel comes from Canada.
Great.
So that means the big money upset, when it comes to energy costs in New England, I would assume.
They're saying it was just Ontario, not all of
Here it
Canada,
comes,
dropping
guys.
Starlink.
Oh, just Ontario? Oh,
Here it
thanks
comes,
for the
man.
update.
And watch
Everybody.
out.
Watch
If you
out.
protest at a university that has federal funding, they will fuck you.
Well, I mean, a lot of them do, but I don't know. That's, freedom of speech fight.
There's no freedom
See.
of speech. The Republicans were never for freedom of speech.
Yeah,
only
I
freedom
know.
of
It's
their
all,
speech.
Yeah, it's all blustery language anyway.
So how do we fight back? Well, first off,
good
we want
question.
to make sure that as many people know about reality as possible. So it's good to talk about it. I'm giving pushback online because a lot of people read my posts, and I think that it's helpful. I mean, if you have good responses and all that. But in the end, I came to a realization last week that I should have come to a long time ago. But I mean, just in general, it doesn't freaking matter what the people that are, in your social media, if you have MAGA supporters and all that, it doesn't freaking matter what they think. It doesn't matter what they say. And it doesn't matter that you will not change their mind. It doesn't move the ball in any direction. That's all just emotional noise. The other people that might be reading the post and stuff, I think at this point the dividing line has been drawn. I think that Trump is going to bleed to some degree people that are backing him, because what's happening, like they're legitimately, like, farmers and cattle farms in the United States, losing federal funding and their deals with NSAID and all that stuff. Like, yeah, there's going to be people who are like, holy shit, my income is evaporating and I voted for Trump and it's his fault. And that's going to happen. Oddly, I'm seeing them already backpedal on like grocery prices and all that, saying things like grocery prices aren't as important as this, as the government's saving money and efficiency.
Yeah.
It's like they're not gonna acquiesce. They're not gonna admit they were wrong. None of that's gonna happen. So what we need to do is continue to communicate the truth. We need to try to work, try to be unified with the people that you have in your life and your friends and family who you're aligned with. Make your group, make your safety net stronger, right? Meaning, guys, if horrible things happen in the U.S. economy and we lose power because Canada is not supplying us this and this and all the different things that could be happening that are coming down the road, where our power grid grows out and all that stuff, freaking be prepared.
Yeah,
That's it.
That's one that we
Get N95 masks now. Get a couple of hundred of them now, right? Why not? Because they're not going to be available the next time something big
The
happens.
bird flu is coming. It's
Yeah,
coming.
it
I
just
mean,
needs
it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's already spreading in mammals, which is bad.
Yeah.
And it's one mutation away from being able to have like human to human spread. Right? So it's are we ready for the next pandemic? I don't think so.
Well, let me check. Who's the president? No, we're not. We won't be ready.
No, but so
It's hard to see this, but it says France called. They want their Statue of Liberty back.
yeah.
Nice.
I saw a cartoon of Trump and Vance mugging the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know.
Get the basics, guys. Right? It's just good to have. Believe me, a couple of $100 now spent on N95s when the next pandemic hits. Yeah, that's gold in your basement. And again, it's like just get a cache of food in your house, right? Buy dried goods, oatmeal,
toilet
rice.
paper.
Toilet paper is always nice. The good thing about toilet
Lentils
paper,
and pasta.
if you have power in your house, you could always not use toilet paper and just shower, right? That's like the worst thing that can happen to you. That's the thing. Like, what about power? I decided I'm getting solar panels on my house and I'm buying a battery for my.
You got to get it. You got to get a battery.
I'm going to do it, and I'm going to start that process now because I want to get that in play.
Yeah, man.
How much do eggs cost around here? I don't know.
$1
They're a
$1 an
lot.
egg.
Yeah, they're a lot.
Yeah,
It's
12
like
bucks a dozen.
12 bucks
yeah,
a dozen.
12
A
bucks.
dollar a fucking egg.
Olivia says 10 pence. Is that pence? 10p
Mike
for
Pence
egg?
is a dick.
Is that like,
Tell them
A
to
tenth
pee
of it?
off.
yeah.
What side of the road? Head?
Yeah, it's the bird flu. It's you
Yeah.
know why the eggs are so expensive.
And I kind of look at this like we're hunkering down for a very,
Get a bidet,
very
that's right.
long winter. What else could we do, right?
Winter is coming.
Bidet.
Yeah, but legit, like you've got to be prepared. You have to think about this now. You don't want to be trying to problem solve things when you really don't have the power to do anything. Like, what would you need? This is so simple.
We should
What did you want the first 3 weeks that COVID hit? What did you wish that you had?
An SGU branded bidet.
Well, of course.
Saying it's on.
And we've got them for
We've got
$10.95. Even things like I bought myself a fleece hoodie, like where it's really
Yeah.
thick fleece, like it looks like actual animal hair on the
Yeah.
inside. Like they're great. They're really warm. You can operate with a much lower temperature in your house. Learn how to, Bob, right? Learn how to fix your oil
tank.
your
Yeah,
oil
oil-
boiler. Learn how to empty the water from all your pipes in your house. Right? If you don't know how to do that, then if you lose power and your pipes freeze, that's like horrific. That's a horrific thing to happen in a house with cold weather.
What I don't get, we lost power. You know, our boiler was broken, and so we didn't have much heat in the house.
Yeah.
And I'm nervous about the basement, right? So I went in the basement, I put a thermometer down there, and it stayed. It didn't even get. It was like 20 degrees out, but the temperature in the basement was like 58.
That's
like
easy
for
to
2 days.
tell you why, Bob.
Why?
Because your house was built on an ancient burial ground. That is the heat
I
generated
made
from all
sure.
of the souls. It's the turmoil that's happening in your house.
Excellent. So maybe I need to throw some more.
Yeah, keep it
Corpses
warm.
down
I mean,
there.
how warm do you want it? That's what you got to ask.
All right, above freezing would be nice.
Okay.
But no, I wasn't really. I thought for sure the basement would drop precipitously, but
Yeah.
in the it was 58.
Yeah, you're lucky, man.
Should we look at some of these non-TikTok ones that we want to do TikTok for? Like there were some ones that aren't really worth a full discussion, but we could. There's the neurotoxins at Costco. That's kind of silly. You want to see that one?
Yeah, that one's ridiculous.
Okay, let's just look at this one. It's
Things
kind
I
of a
would
pain in
never
the butt.
buy at Costco as an environmental scientist. Number one is aluminum foil and parchment paper. Aluminum is a known neurotoxin, and when you put your food inside of this, aluminum is known at certain temperatures in certain food types to leach into your food, raising the aluminum levels in your food and therefore inside of your body. A link to those neurodegenerative conditions that you're worried about and our beloved nonstick parchment paper.
Okay. Steve, aluminum? How bad is it?
I mean,
can
what-
we lick it?
You can lick it.
can lick
lick
it.
it.
I mean,
You can lick it.
so he said specifically certain temperatures and certain foods. I mean that might be. I don't know if that's true or not. Probably not. But if it's true, I would suspect the temperatures would be unreasonable temperatures that you wouldn't encounter in
Like
your
what?
daily
What
life.
would
I
those
don't know.
temperatures be?
He didn't,
Like
he didn't
1,000
say. He didn't
degrees.
say.
Till it's
I mean,
molten?
like everything, it's all about the dose, and the question is there a significant amount leaching into your food and then therefore in getting absorbed in your body, and we never hear that data, right? We never see it's the difference between hazard and risk.
Yes.
Where hazard is like there's a potential mechanism of harm. Risk is like what's the actual risk based upon actual behavior.
So that shark in the tank is hazardous, but the risk is really low if you don't
as long
go
as
in
you
the
don't go
goddamn
in the
water.
tank, right?
Right. I love that example.
Right.
Even if the tank breaks, it's probably pretty low, right?
All right,
Like
but the
shark can't make
bottom
it to
line
you.
is, though, I mean, how many people do you know are dying from aluminum poisoning? Right? Is that a legitimate way to look at it, Steve?
Well, I mean, the claim is that it increases your risk of Alzheimer's disease, which has not really been clearly established.
And how am I supposed to make chocolate chip cookies at home without parchment paper? Answer that.
Oh yeah, that's the
And
next
what was
one.
the parchment paper?
So
He
yeah,
doesn't
let's
like
look at
it.
the parchment paper.
Paper, that's a silicone coating, and at
Silicone.
temperatures as low as 200 degrees
Good job,
Fahrenheit,
Paul.
can release siloxanes, which are linked to hormone disruption. And even
put mustard on it,
number
I eat
two
this shit.
has to be
So hormone disruption and
Fuck yeah, dude.
cancer. Apparently
My
silicone.
cookies are better.
But 200 degrees, you don't cook with it.
No, you put it in the oven, Steve. You put
Well, parchment paper.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
you
yeah,
put,
you-
it's not like wax paper. It's like so
Oh, okay.
you do put you would put stuff on top of it, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's
I
saying
never
about
cooked with it.
silicone, and then it has a silicone coating. But does that mean the same thing as silicone? Like, and what's the dose response? Like that presented that cancer was it cancer in mice or something? Like it's all types of weird things that he's probably piggybacking off of. Anyway, here, tuna, probably mercury, right?
It's gotta be the mercury.
It likely contains the highest level of one of the most dangerous heavy metals to your body, mercury. And when you buy it in bulk, you're likely going to eat more of it. But if you do buy it, try to find varieties that have been tested, like this one, or get the skipjack variety that has lower levels of mercury. And
Does he work for Skipjack? I wonder. Is he shill for big tuna?
I mean, the benefits of eating fish outweigh the tiny amount of mercury that's in there for most things. But if you're like a woman who's pregnant or planning on getting pregnant,
Right.
there's something to be said for of not eating seafood.
Although apparently in Japan that's the opposite.
Yeah.
Weirdly, but that might just be
Really?
cultural. They're like, you should eat seafood, but then the whole
Well, again, the seafood is good for you. It's good for your baby's brain development. But the question is, what is the bigger
Right.
effect? The benefit of the fish or the negative of the tiny bit of mercury? And yeah, it's a legitimate question, and that's actually been studied. And the answer really is it depends.
Yeah.
But finding varieties of seafood that have low mercury is a good thing, too,
Okay,
especially if you're a pregnant woman.
I get my family gets the Wild Planet. It's the one to the on the far left of the screen there with the orange
That
and blue.
says spam.
No, above that. You see the one that's orange and blue?
I know. Okay. Oh yeah.
And just from me to you, Wild Planet tuna is fantastic.
Really?
It is freaking fantastic.
I don't know. I
It
can't
is
get over
super.
tuna
It
in
is
a can.
super flavorful. It is like the highest quality tuna I've ever
What
had.
kind? Wild tuna?
Wild Planet. It's freaking awesome.
But how much mercury? does it
Yeah.
have?
Much you like the taste
I
of
eat
mercury?
that shit. I
clearly.
like the mercury. All right.
Steve, even the mercury's delicious in that one,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Jay? Even the mercury's so
It's
good.
free range mercury. All right. Let's see what
Eat
else
it
he has to
sparingly.
say.
And number 3
sparingly.
is those plug-in fragrances, ones in your home, in your car, Febreze.
Yeah,
These
particulate
things
matter.
release a vicious toxin where recent studies say the unprecedented use of fragrances are leading to things like obesity,
What?
Obesity,
and
sure.
other pathologies. And as an environmental scientist, I would avoid them at all.
So how something smells good, so you get fat? Well, I guess
I
that
have
makes
never
sense,
met
actually. Something smells good, you
necessarily
get fat.
sweet-smelling, corpulent people.
The fact that he said that and didn't tell us what the chemical is super sketchy.
Yeah.
Well, plus again, he's an environmental scientist. They're all about hazard.
Oh,
Okay, they're
right.
not clinicians.
Yeah.
That's environmental data like that is always sus, right? It's always like, oh, this toxin exists in the environment. It's like, okay, but is it actually having an actual physical effect on people?
Yeah.
That's different. That's a different question.
Shark in the tank.
Yeah, shark in the tank.
Shark in the tank.
But the shark is really deadly, Bob.
That's true.
But I'm not going
Do you
near
want to
it.
be eaten by a shark?
like Jaws? Jaws people are like the lame one. Like, well, a lot of them are lame. Jaws 3, where Brody's wife, her kids are getting killed by the shark, and it's like, well, then why are you going in the water again? Or you're going back in the water. Stay out of the water, and that hazard, the risk will be zero.
Right.
Even though that super smart white shark was clearly way too intelligent for them.
I know that's
stay out of the
That's the
water.
gimme for those movies, right? I mean, the first one makes sense. They were trying to save people from the corrupt mayor who didn't want the town to lose money. Like,
Yeah.
that makes sense. They said finally they were like, screw it, let's go out and kill this thing. Probably the best monster movie of all time.
It was
So good.
a great film.
So good.
Somebody
man.
was asking, can you lick mercury? So I think it is no.
Red. That's what
HG.
it's red.
You really shouldn't. I
Heavy
guess it
metals,
says.
I think, in general. Are,
Yeah, pretty bad.
Yeah.
Heavy metals for listening, not for licking.
I mean,
Right.
look, I wouldn't put it past the companies that make those fragrances that they put chemicals in there that probably are unhealthy to breathe.
But
in.
they have to pass the FDA, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you
but
can't
fuck,
just-
that's gone, Steve. I mean, legit.
Yeah, but
you know
that's-
that all those days are gone, and they will start adding in the crazy shit to lower their costs.
like beef tallow.
Yeah,
Put it everywhere.
I love balsam. Like the fir tree smell. I love pine trees, and the look and the smell and everything about it are fantastic. And if that shit's gonna kill me, I don't know how much time do I have left at this point anyway. Right, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, really. Let's see. Are any of these other TikToks fun enough to do while we're here? There's another Costco one, the bleached salt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, please.
Yeah,
That's a
that one.
common thing.
It's not
What's
bleach.
the
It's,
difference between this salt here versus this sea salt or this fluoridated salt. Well,
Nothing.
I would never, ever
Sodium
cook
chloride?
with this type of salt here. This
Never
is
cook with one of the most popular salts in the world, like kosher salt.
So, I mean, there are different salts for different purposes. There's like table salt, there is cooking salt, there is finishing salt,
sea
which is just
salt.
structurally different. But the basic
Driveway
difference, that's right. In terms of the like edible
Yeah,
salt,
okay.
the main difference is whether or not they purify it or not, right? So he's not the purified salts. They get rid of a lot of the trace elements, not completely, but enough so that it's white, right? Whereas like the unrefined salts have a lot of the other trace minerals in there. It doesn't really matter. You get plenty of those trace minerals in your rest of your food. It does help to have the iodinated salt to get the iodine, because that will help prevent goiter and stuff. Goiter. So, but it's like, effect on your health is nothing. The net effect is absolutely nothing. The idea that like it's somehow bad for you to use salt that's been purified sodium chloride is ridiculous.
Do you make popcorn at home, Steve?
Yeah.
Get the salt that is powdered salt.
Yeah, that's like the finishing salt.
Right, the super fine
Yeah.
salt. It's awesome because it sticks to the popcorn. Like
Yeah, that's
crazy.
different. It's not.
Don't hit my hand.
Do you, just gonna punch you. Do you spray it with anything like butter or olive oil or anything?
Well, when
to
I do
make
the
it
air
thick?
popper, so
Oh,
there's
yeah.
two different popcorns I make at home.
Okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
I take coconut oil
Will it
and,
popcorn.
put it in a
oh, coconut oil.
if you want to make like the really high end, awesome tasting popcorn, you take coconut oil, like you spoon it, right? It's like it liquefies when you heat it up, and you put the kernels in like a 12 quart pot, put the top on, and then you literally just leave it alone, and the oil will cook the popcorn, and then when it stops popping, you take it off.
Oh, you're doing stovetop, not like
Stovetop.
air popper.
Yeah, now
Oh, I
that
thought you
tastes
meant-
the best, but there's a good chunk of oil in there.
Yeah.
Or I do the olive oil spray out of the air popper. So I spray and put salt on it as it comes out. That tastes really good. It's a great snack. It's low in oil, relatively low in salt. That's great. It's a nice healthy little snack. You're not blowing yourself out like cookies, for Christ's sake, because
Blowing
you're not eating
yourself
one
out.
cookie. Let's face it. Because I'm about to eat the other 4 over there. We'll go off camera.
That's
thinking
why
about it.
that's why I left them with you.
I know, right?
I
I'm
have
I'm thinking about it too.
6
man.
others at home. So,
But the bottom line is, it's this
Of
type
what?
of shit. You have all of these people going to Costco and doing their YouTubes for the fucking month in there. But the salt, it's like, really, dude? Like, that's what you're doing? Like, you're finding conspiracy among different kinds of salt? I mean, come the fuck on.
I know this guy's pretty popular. He does that stuff all
It's just
over
so
TikTok.
easy. You
Yeah.
could go through. I mean, there was a
Anyhow.
good study.
Steve, wait.
They
What I
went
want to
there-
do, I want to go to Costco and I want to find a few different tomato sauces that they have.
Yeah.
And I want to be like a total like Brooklyn
Yeah.
guy. You don't want to eat this shit. This shit is the farthest from my grandmother's sauce. I can't freaking believe. Right? Like, you want to, like, we should mock all that shit. Let's
That would
just
be
make
funny.
that
Sure.
what we do for the SGU. from
I'm
now on.
fine.
All right,
Do
100%.
not
But what I was
sauce.
saying was,
Tuna, what the fuck?
I think they just went through like the first 100 ingredients, whatever they encountered in the cookbook or something, and like half of them cause cancer.
Yeah.
And the other half protect you from cancer. I mean, it was.
It's a wash.
But the thing is, like, if all you're doing is fear mongering about stuff, you can do it about almost anything.
I wanna
because
cross my arms
anything in sufficient dose is gonna, in mice somewhere is gonna have.
Nice forearms, Jay. Go ahead.
Brothers,
Never mind
stop.
I just don't want Bob
Brothers.
and I to be both like. It's like, it looks kind of weird, People that don't know
What
us
do
will
I
cl-
do with my hands?
Yeah, but they'll come on and they'll be like, "What is happening?"
Yeah.
Those guys look just like each other and they're sitting just like each other. It's like, I don't want to hear that. Okay.
Okay. Anyway, moving on.
Moving
Was there
on.
anything? There were some other TikToks, but we could do our real TikToks if we want to.
Sure.
Get
Sure, we
that. I
can.
don't
All
know
right,
if there's
before
anything
Bob
else.
and I leave, then
Yeah.
let me remind people. I don't want to say I told you so.
Oh Lord.
But
Oh,
this might
Lord.
be
But you
the
just
last
did.
Nauticon that you can ever go to because of what's about to happen in the United States. Olivia knows that, and
Olivia
she's
knows.
coming all the fuck away.
All the fuck
Okay.
away.
She's coming?
She's coming, yes,
Yay.
of course.
Yeah,
And there's no tariffs on our stuff.
We don't
apply
This is a
tariffs to our sales.
tariff-free conference.
Yeah.
I trust you up until like 15 minutes before it ends. But
You
we'll
will
get it.
terrifically enjoy it.
Yeah, but please come, please do, because it helps support first off, it'll make it so we can have another one because we need people to want to do it in order for it to keep happening. But we have such a good conference planned.
Oh my
we've
God,
been putting the finishing touches on this thing, and it's really gotten to the point where I'm super excited. I cannot wait. We have a few bits that are so awesome. I can't wait to do it.
This is going to be good.
And we have a special.
I just have 2 words for you, Jay.
Uh-oh.
Go what?
Pishing and jizz.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go.
Give it away.
We have pishing,
Pishing and jizz.
jizz,
Oh, God.
cock,
All
and
right,
tits.
All right.
Am I right?
All right.
Yes.
All
Am I right?
All right. Don't give it away.
Look, Ian, there you
Notaconcon.com.
go. There, he said
Both of
it.
those
He's
words have
finally
in
said
common.
it. And it's not easy to say, is it, Ian?
It's very
Notaconcon.com.
Notaconcon.com.
Jesus, Ian.
Notaconcon.com.
Yeah, you hit
Kind of
register.
flows, not a kind of-
Bing, bang, boom. Somebody asked about another VIP spot opening up. I got to get back to you if you're listening to this. I think there might be a spot, and I will get back to you.
Olivia, if you're not coming to the conference, I don't know if we're going to have it. So what is happening?
Yeah, we will cancel.
What's
for
happening?
Olivia.
We have somebody coming from freaking Norway.
Norway. That's pretty cool.
She's coming.
Pretty
She wouldn't do that to
cool.
me.
Pretty,
We're on a first name
pretty
basis.
cool.
There will be
She
a
knows.
special prize for the person who travels the farthest to come to Noticon and who brings chocolate with them.
Oh my God.
We're going to give you a
Extra
Laurel
Just
and
saying.
Hardy handshake.
Laurel and Hardy. Okay, that's just very good. Yes. What was it? What was
Oh,
something
no,
saying?
really? Oh, shit. If you need me to talk to your doctor, Olivia, let me know.
Yeah.
I'll straighten things
Yeah,
out
we'll
over there.
we'll figure that out. Hope we can
Good
come
luck.
to
Good luck with
Canada
that.
sometime soon. We're gonna sell Connecticut to Canada, so
Yeah.
we'll you come to us. It'll be
So, trip on this.
oh
In the
Lord.
very near future, 25% of the state's power that I live in could evaporate. What does that mean?
I think it's less than that. Wasn't it like 11%?
But still, you'd figure that, the state representatives would be like, we better contact everybody that lives in Connecticut and do one of a few things. One, tell them there's nothing to worry about, which would be great to hear. Two, this is what we're going to do if it happens.
Yes.
Right? Like, come on.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we heard more from our representatives.
More elected representatives.
You know what I don't
I mean,
like?
Chris Murphy is okay, but like
Chris Murphy's doing
he's
great,
doing
actually.
good. But like
Proud to have him as our
more.
senator.
Yeah, more is always better.
I
So
don't
get in their
like-
faces, tell them to do stuff.
Ian, I don't like the fact that at this point in my life, it's so obvious that we're the adults.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Right? Like,
Who made us the
like
adults?
is it really that
That's
far
a
of
scary thought.
But
Yeah,
think
right?
about it. Is it that far of a stretch to want the people who are in charge of the government
Do you have a
in- in-
basic level of competence and moral
and communication? Like,
rectitude?
holy shit! Like, you don't think hearing that Canada is going to cut off our power is something that people are going to get a little weirded out by?
What the hell would we do with Connecticut? First of all, lobster rolls, fantastic.
Yeah,
I know,
I mean,
except for
like
Steve
lobster.
doesn't
Mystic
like them, but whatever.
Aquarium.
Mystic Aquarium, pizza. We're the pizza capital of the world. Screw New York. I mean, okay.
No, but it's
technically
not even,
New York is
Ian,
better-
it's
is
not
very
even
good, but-
close.
I mean, listen, Canada, you're not getting New York.
You're
It's
not
off the
getting New York.
table.
It's off
the
the
best
table.
you're going to do is New Haven
Yeah.
pizza.
Yeah.
So just,
deal with it. All right?
I
Come
would
on.
take that deal.
It's a good deal.
I
Yeah,
like
it's a good deal.
that for the most part. Canada totally gets that this
Yes.
is Trump and his wacko administration.
Yeah.
Like, half the country here didn't vote for Trump.
Also, Connecticut has
More-
the highest wealth
more than
disparity
half, well
between
more.
any other
If you
state. So
factor in the jerks that didn't vote.
Well,
Or
he
can't vote.
wasn't. Trump didn't even get a majority of people who voted.
That's true. It wasn't
He had a
even
plurality. He did not break 50%.
It was not a mandate.
Just
Wasn't
just
even
keep
a
that in
date.
mind.
All right, let's get to some
All right.
tickety talks, everybody. Thanks for being here, everybody. We'll
Awesome
see
people.
you
Goodbye, everybody.
All
next
right,
week. But
talk
we're
to you
gonna do
guys
TikToks. We'll do some 2 TikToks.
Stay positive, guys.
Stay positive. Let's hit some hold music. There we go. Ooh.
By the way, SGU is working on some really awesome stuff behind the scenes, and hopefully we'll be able to give you more information soon. Maybe we'll tell people for the first time at Nauticon.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Or before then. That's pretty close. But
All right, everybody. So long. Goodbye. You're a cookie peddler. They're really good.
Dude, they were delicious.
they were delish.
They don't even need peanut butter to make them eat peanut butter. That's a big one.
Okay.
Jay's missing his head.
Oh
There
no. Oh wait, that mic too. Steve, you see that mic in the shot?
All right, man.
There you
This
go.
one.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right. See ya. No problem. See you later. All right, so we got some TikToks, everybody. Welcome in.
Let's just do those two.
Yeah, we'll just do the two.
This one? Yeah, this one.
Nah,
This
it's
fucking guy.
It's always this fucking guy. It's
Yeah.
always some fucking guy. All right, hold on. Let me stop the recording, and I'll start the recording again. Stand by, everybody. Wednesday.
How you doing there, Jay?
I sold a set of our dice to a guy I play with. He saw them. Was like, I want to support the SGU. It was Joe Grasso.
Yeah,
So maybe I can make some more money off of you.
you got it.
Hey.
Hey.
All right.
All right, let's. All right, that's going. That's going. Let me just make sure we're unmuted here. I'll full screen it. All right, stand by.
Okay.
I still can't believe that in 2025 that I've got to put together a video to show people more evidence of NASA lying. So here's the first clip. You know, he's got gravity, they haven't got gravity, they forgot to edit out the technician. Clip number 2, guys. Notice this astronaut's necklace, it's floating. You know, he's in a no gravity zone. But watch what happens when he drops the card. That was strange, wasn't it? What about the time when there was a fly in space? You see it right there? Oh, there he is. And then, just keep watching. Keep watching. And here comes the fly again. Oh, there he is. Fly in space. Stop believing in the television. It's channeling you to be programmed.
All right.
I'll cut out that last part. It's
Yeah.
probably not unnecessary. All right, here we go. Oh, hold on. Let me fix the TikTok screen. Stand by. Doop. Doop. All right, we're rolling.
I can't believe in 2025 I still have to debunk anti-NASA conspiracy theories, which are absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't take a lot of investigation to figure out what's going on with those 3 clips that he showed. Clearly, he's not interested in it. What the anti-NASA conspiracy theorists are doing is what we call anomaly hunting. They just look for things that they think are strange and they declare them evidence that NASA is lying. It's all pretty ridiculous. Of course, the conspiracy theory itself is childish and nonsensical. I mean, it's absolutely implausible that for over decades, you know, that there could be this massive, it would have to be worldwide conspiracy to fake the space travel, the ISS, et cetera, all of that. It's nonsense. And we could show that just by looking at those 3 examples. So the first one, where you have the technician in the corner of the video, and he's saying that he has gravity. But why is he saying that? Why does he think that there's evidence of gravity there? So he places a cup on the table and it stays there because, of course, it does. Why would anything else happen? If you hold it to the table so it has no momentum and let go, it's not going to float away just because there's no gravity. If there's nothing touching it or pushing on it, it's going to stay where it is. But what about the liquid inside the cup? Now, did you notice anything? If you take a close look at the cup, it's not really a great shot. A more in-focus image would be better. But if you look at the cup, it looks a little strange in its structure. Well, NASA has engineered a cup with a specific shape that allows liquid to stay inside of it even though there's no top because of surface tension. And that's what that cup looks like. So there's no evidence of any actual gravity there. That could just be a guy drinking out of a cup that NASA designed to hold liquid in it that you could find online. These things exist. Also, the guy waves at the camera. So what's the claim here? That NASA is engaged in a multi-decade, multi-billion-dollar conspiracy to fake space travel, but really they forget to edit out a technician in the middle of one of their fake videos and the guy waves at the camera? It's childish. It's nonsensical. The next one is the card thing. Now, that individual is a private astronaut who is a magician and who said he's doing magic tricks. He's demonstrating a magic trick on the ISS. So, first of all, again, what's the claim here? So his necklace is floating, clearly showing evidence that he's in microgravity. He lets go of the hammer, which also floats, again, deliberately demonstrating that he's in microgravity, and then the card falls. Why would NASA, by the way, show this if this was evidence that they're lying and covering up reality? Makes no sense. But in reality, this guy said, I'm going to do a magic trick, and then he does a magic trick. This is not evidence of NASA deceiving anybody. And then the third video, why does he say that's a bug or a fly? It's a speck, right? It's a fuzzy black speck. It might not even be outside. It could be in the camera for all we know. We can tell from that. It doesn't move like a fly, right? It kind of moves very unnaturally. There's a lot of debris outside of the windows of the ISS. So it's possible it's just debris. It's also possible, again, that it's an artifact. It's something on the lens. It's not a fly, though. Right? You can look at it. It's just a fuzzy black speck. It's not a fly. It doesn't move like a fly. So that's just nonsensical as well. So the quality of this guy's evidence is really suspect. I mean, clearly he didn't do even 5 minutes of searching to verify his claims. He's not interested in the truth. He's just conspiracy mongering, which is all we get from the NASA is lying crowd.
Alrighty. Okay, NASA lies.
It's a magic
again.
trick, Ian.
I know. Magic, but magic's real. And NASA proved it.
Guess David Copperfield really made the Statue of Liberty disappear.
Yes, exactly.
Statue of Liberty is a myth.
Yeah.
It doesn't really
It's
exist.
It's never there to begin
As
with.
evidence, David Copperfield.
There you go.
All right.
All right, let's watch this guy. Here we go. Hold on 1 second.
What are some of the potential benefits? Methylene blue. What are some of the potential benefits? It's been researched for cancer fighting because it induces cancer cell death and inhibits tumor growth. 2, it helps the brain because it helps to increase oxygen delivery. So people who use it say they have better mood, focus, concentration, less brain fog. It also helps in your brain to increase your neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. So people feel less anxious, less depressed, but you have to be careful. If you're taking other antidepressants that also increase serotonin, taking this together could cause something called serotonin syndrome with its own potential side effects. So don't take it if you're taking any antidepressants. 3, a lot of antimicrobial benefits. It was one of the first ones used before we even had penicillin for the first 40, 50 years. It has potential for malaria, Lyme disease, bacteria, funguses, other parasites. It was even used during COVID, a lot of studies with that. So
We can stop there.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything specific on there? Like, should I cut out the first, third point, or maybe?
No, I'll hit all 3 points.
Okay.
Really quick.
All right. So I'll keep that. All right. We're rolling.
All right, so methylene blue is getting a lot of attention, especially after RFK, was shown putting some in the water. So are the claims being made for it true? Well, to some extent. I mean, methylene blue is a drug, right? It is being studied for lots of things. But, hang on. Okay. Methylene blue is a drug. It is being researched for a lot of its, activity. But just because it's like there is some evidence that it has some activity doesn't mean that it's useful or that you should be self-medicating with it. There isn't a lot of research looking at a lot of the effects that are being touted in this video, but let's go through them really quick. So probably the best evidenced one is the antimicrobial effects. It does have antimicrobial effects. Does that mean that you can treat yourself for a serious infection with it? I wouldn't do it. Again, you need to know the dose, the dosing schedule, how long you need to take it for. You need to make sure it has activity against whatever it is specifically you're treating. Just using it as an over-the-counter, all-purpose antimicrobial, not a good idea. I wouldn't recommend that. going back to the claim about it improves blood flow to the brain, that has actually not been established. In fact, the first study I saw when I researched that question showed the opposite. There's actually a study which shows that methylene blue in humans and in mice reduces blood flow to the brain and reduces oxygen consumption. It has the opposite effect. Now, that is not necessarily the final word on that question, but we can't take for granted that it is doing that, nor can we take for granted that whatever effect it's having on blood flow or oxygenation, that it's a good thing, that it's helpful in everybody, including the healthy population. So one thing you always have to distinguish with these kind of things is, well, is it helping you if you're healthy at baseline, or only if you have a certain disease state or a certain physical condition? These are all very important questions that need to be answered before you could know how to use this therapeutically or clinically. Again, just taking it because it's going to non-specifically make anybody healthier is nonsense. It's not the way you should be using drugs, right? In fact, also, there is research showing that if you take too much methylene blue, it can actually cause encephalopathy. That's the brain not functioning, right? It could actually cause harm to the brain. It's a drug. It's not automatically benign just because it's natural. It's not even natural. It doesn't even make any sense. And then the cancer fighting capability. So it really only has two, I think, evidence-based uses in cancer treatment. One is to help, because it is a dye, right? It's to help identify, for example, lymph nodes that need to be removed because they might have cancer cells in them. So it helps to locate tissue that might need to be removed. It also can be used for different types of phototherapy. So essentially, you give it to you either give it to the patient or inject it in the tissue. You get it in the cancer tissue, then you use that to you use light to activate it, which then kills the cells, right? So you have to use it as part of a treatment. Just the methylene blue itself isn't necessarily having any benefit, or it's used to sort of guide either surgical removal or removing lymph nodes for cancer. So it is being used in those two sort of limited senses. It's not just an anti-cancer drug, right? Anti-cancer drugs are always very tricky. We take them in a carefully calibrated dose that is, high enough that it has anti-cancer activity, right? It's killing or preventing the cancer cells from replicating or reproducing, but is not having more of a negative effect, a toxic effect on the body than the patient can tolerate. It's all about risk versus benefit. Where is that sweet spot of dose? Again, I certainly don't recommend dosing yourself, like self-treating with an anti-cancer treatment without knowing its activity against the specific cancer or what dose to take or for how long, and all the other things that you have to know about, such as drug-drug interactions, et cetera. So, going from some basic science or preliminary clinical science to making specific recommendations for use is really problematic. That historically does not work out well. Most things that look promising, most drugs that look promising at this early stage of research do not pan out. Like less than 1% actually will work out as a useful therapeutic. Basically, it's wait for the research and do it under the guidance of a physician. It's a drug with side effects, with drug-drug interactions, with toxicity, and you have to know exactly when and how to use it properly. But just using it as like a supplement to self-medicate really is not good practice at this time, and I don't recommend it.
But can you lick it?
But can you lick it? You can if you want your tongue to be blue.
Technically, yeah, that's
you
right.
can lick it.
Yeah.
Get a blue tongue.
Blue tongue.
Then your pee turns blue. All right.
All right. That's good.
Any last questions before I pop out of here and start prepping for my show tonight?
Yeah. Go ahead, chat. Hit us with some questions.
Organic, non-GMO methylene blue. Yep.
Give you some mood music.
Free range. All natural.
Little mood music.
We have to play Can You Lick It at Nauticon.
That's a good point. That might be a fun. Should we get some sodium in a can and be
It
like,
was
can you
encephalopathy.
lick it?
Encephalitis is inflammation of the brain. Encephalopathy is just the brain's not functioning. It's like if you're drunk,
pathy.
you technically have encephalopathy. You have alcohol-induced encephalopathy. Encephalitis means you have inflammation, either infection or autoimmune attack or something.
Which country outside of the U.S. has the best healthcare? Just trying to decide where to flee to.
I mean, you know, Europe, generally speaking, UK, Germany, they have pretty good healthcare.
For now.
Canada does
We'll
too.
see. Yeah.
I mean,
Good luck.
it's a trade-off, though, right? The question is, do you have money or not? If you have money, you can get. There's lots of places you can get good
anywhere.
healthcare. Yeah. If you don't have money, then it kind of depends on what your illness is, you know, because it's the socialized medicine countries. To be being perfectly honest here, they're very good at the low-level day-to-day, you know, stuff, health maintenance and everything. If you have a really expensive illness, you just may not make the cut, you know. So like if you need a transplant, you may, and you don't have a self-funding level of money, you're not necessarily going to get better care in a country with socialized medicine because they're not going to pay for it. That's partly how they control costs. They just say, you're too old. We're not going to give you it. We know somebody, a very good personal friend of ours, who needed a heart transplant, lived in Canada, and they basically never gave it to him. You know, if he would have been better off if he had like really good insurance in the United States than having the state insurance in Canada. And he basically died because he never got his heart transplant because it was just one of those really expensive things they didn't want to pay for. Yeah, anywhere if you have money.
Yeah.
The UK, you know, is touted as UK has a great, you know, national health service, but they have a two-tiered system. They have a private healthcare system for people with money. Then they have the National Health Service for everybody else. And the NHS is great, but it's not perfect. And it, you know, they ration care in some ways, you know, and you know, they're not necessarily maximally efficient in other ways. It's a trade-off. It's the top-down medicine, you know, where you have just like one, you know, government insurance controlling it all. I've experienced that. That's what we have at the VA, right? That is VA medical care. It's basically paid for by the government, top-down bureaucracy, and the bureaucracy is really frustrating. And they do some crazy shit there. But there is certain efficiencies in the system that are fantastic because it is all a single-payer, top-down system. So it's a trade-off. There are some good aspects. There are some not-so-good aspects. And it kind of depends on where you fall in the system. There's no perfect system out there.
Until Steve comes up with one. And that's what
I
he's
cannot come up
with after.
No. And the American system is insane.
Yeah,
but
that's
but it's
insane,
just a different set of trade-offs, you know.
Yeah, well, we'll see. All right. Any other questions we got?
I would talk to the White House. My first advice would be fire RFK Jr. immediately.
That's a good one.
That would be my first piece of advice. Sure, I'd be happy to advise.
Put Elon in space. Tell him to get back to work doing space things. Just leave. Get out of here. Stop with all your memes.
Kind of depends on what questions are they asking.
Yeah, what questions? Have you ever been part of the Communist Party? Yeah, all right. Feels like schooling. All right, well, I think that's all we got for today. So Friday, we'll probably have a stream. Hopefully, everybody. We'll see. Depending on, you know, it's usually last minute because everybody's getting off work and yada, 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 and we're trying to figure it out. So pay attention to the Discord if you're on the Discord. And if you're not on the Discord, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/theskeptics.
We appreciate all of our patrons. They make all of this wonderful stuff happen.
Yes.
Seriously, this is like we couldn't function without our patrons.
100%. And we appreciate any of you continuing and upping your pledges, of course. But you can become a patron and you get access to the patron-only Discord, which is a fun place. A lot of people talking, and it's cool. All right, I think that's it.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. Next time, hit the end music, and here we go.